It's time to take off your clothes, enjoy clothes-free living, and join us for Naked, Nudists, and Naturists.
Welcome to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, the show that celebrates clothes-free living for all. I'm your host, Frank Stone.
And I'm your correspondent, Lisa Monroe, and I'll be reporting on all things within the naturist community. So it's time to get naked and join us.
And enjoy clothes-free living on Naked, Nudists, and Naturists. Well, greetings and welcome in to Naked, Nudists, and Naturists, episode 149 today. Really glad that you're with us, ready to enjoy clothes-free living for all of the right reasons for the next hour. If you can join us and remain clothes-free for the entire show, so much the better. You'll feel the breeze on your skin. If you're outside, you might get a little taste of the sun and just a tremendously favorable way to live. As we say, clothes-free living for all the right reasons, naturism, nudism, being flat out naked, whatever you call it. We're just glad that you are here to enjoy this hour with us, episode 149. So come on in. The pool is ready. The hot tub is ready to go. The grill is fired up full bore. Fruits and vegetables off to the right. Cold drinks off to the left. Hot drinks inside. The hammock is out the left side door. Some putty greens out back. And a bocce ball court out back and to the right. And inside the pool area again, the back left corner. Don't forget the infamous cigar bar awaits you right there. Extra lotion, towels, chairs, we have it all. Just come on in. Well, on today's show, Lisa Monroe's walking in right now. We'll get to her. And then part one with JELAINE Lombardi. She's written the book Running Around Naked about her time growing up as a kid in a nudist resort. So part one with JELAINE Lombardi. Now, I don't know about you, but I hear music. Do you hear it? Let's listen together. Oh, yes, I hear it. You hear it, too. That can only mean one thing. It's time for the great, the terrific, the completely clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Here she is, the one of a kind, the one and only, the completely clothes-free and fully smiling, our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Good morning, Lisa. How are you today?
Good morning, Frank. I'm doing very well today. The busy time of year, so it's just kind of fun to sit down and have a chat. It's relaxing.
Well, I'm not sure what's so busy. It's December 13th, 12 days before Christmas. What could possibly be busy in your life right now?
No, not much, just a few thousand million things to do on top of work. Now, it's sort of like, oh, well, as if I didn't have enough to do.
Are you going to take any time off at all, or are you going to do your regular 8 days a week schedule?
I'm probably just going to do the 8 days a week schedule because there's just so much to do right now. But I will try to breathe a little bit on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
Yeah. I have family coming to town in about a week or so, and not the same people will be here forever. I'll have different groups coming in, but I'm going to be kind of hosting people for 4 or 5 weeks or so. And so I'll be getting up literally at about 3 a.m. I get up at 4 a.m. anyway, so getting up at 3 is not a big deal. Work from about 3 to 8, and then when everybody else gets up, entertain them, breakfast, whatever, and then hope that they disappear for a few hours somewhere to the beach or wherever they want to go and get more work done. So I'll be on high octane over the next several weeks. So between the two of us, we should make a terrific pairing of two totally wasted people by the first of the year.
By the first of the year, by the middle of January, trust me, we'll probably be crawling into the studio, but because there's a lot to do, a lot of company, a lot of things happening. So, oh, well.
Could we ever, probably can't, I'm thinking logistically, could we ever do this show lying down? Because we might need to.
That's a good thought. I think a couple of nice recliners, a long arm for the microphones, that could work. I could handle that.
Okay. I was thinking more from a hospital bed hooked up to an IV.
Well, that may be where we end up at this rate, but
just have the nurses wheel in our computers and sound system, and we'll be good to go. We could stay there forever. The insurance is paying for it, so why not?
Works for me, and you get 3 meals a day and,
That's right.
waited on and fresh sheets.
Yeah.
Life is good.
Oh, it's almost like the country club setting for us. Yeah,
Almost. Almost a social some country clubs.
that's right. Well, as everybody knows, we started a Patreon page here. It's because we gave up paid work. Yes, we really did. It's not. That's not a joke. I wish it were a joke, but it's not. We gave up paid work to do this show for free. An amazing business concept, never thought of before. Do you realize that we are innovators in the business world, Lisa?
I expected no less of it. No, I did not realize we were innovators.
Yeah, I read through every history book on business over the last week,
Uh-huh.
and nobody has ever given up paid work to do free work and found it financially beneficial. Just an amazing stat I found.
Yeah, you might check the psychiatric textbooks because we might be showing
That's
up there.
well, again, 3 square meals a day, fresh sheets.
Yeah,
That works for me. What the heck?
and arts and crafts. I mean, what more
Oh
can you
yeah,
do? So
yeah.
life is
Well,
good.
maybe I'll learn to draw for a change. First time.
That'll never happen.
No,
So
probably not. So anyway, to make things at least come out on the balance sheet, we turn to you to give to our Patreon page, and many of you have done that. We cannot tell you, not just because it's Christmas, but anytime. We can't tell you enough how much we appreciate that. The expenses are taken care of. We don't have to go in a hole. We'll never make back what we gave up, and that was never the point. We're doing this because we enjoy it, and we think we're making a difference in the world. So there's no issue there. But we thank you very much. And on every show, we thank 2 people. Lisa Monroe, who are we thanking today for becoming a PPP?
today we're thanking Peter and Jessica. And we really appreciate them joining us in the middle of the holiday season. And it's just really, great to have all of our Patreon members along with us.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Peter and Jessica are, as I recall, they are not together. That's not a couple,
No,
it's 2 individuals.
yes.
All right. Well, thank you, Peter. We appreciate you very much. And thank you, Jessica. We appreciate you very much as well. And we appreciate everybody who's become a PPP, a paying Patreon peep, to keep the show going, to keep the expenses being met, and so on and so forth. We thank you. Lisa Monroe, you are the guru, the hostess with the mostest when it comes to merchandise. Anything new and exciting there?
I will tell you that Santa has been busy shopping on the In Shop,
Mhm.
and we have been pleasantly surprised. There's been a lot of orders, a lot of people getting in merchandise, and we've got 3 different themes you can pick from: the full name, Naked Nudist and Naturist, the In collection, and then the Clothes Reliving for All the Right Reason collection. So
Okay.
there's a lot to choose from, depending on what your mood is, and a lot of things: beach towels, those incredibly little fast selling knit caps, which still surprises me, and then mugs, water bottles, tote bags, all kinds of things that would just be great for your favorite naturist or yourself.
That's right. Yeah, oh, yeah. You can buy it for yourself too. Let's not forget that. And we're sipping coffee this morning of our Naked Nudist and Naturist coffee mugs. No scientific proof, but I still firmly believe, again, with no proof, that coffee tastes better out of a Naked Nudist and Naturist coffee mug. Do you agree with that?
I certainly do.
Yeah. Yeah. So we invite you to check those out as well. And there are 2 sizes in those mugs, correct? What are they?
Yes, there are 11 ounces and 15 ounces.
All right. And then we're chugging the big 15 ounces here.
Oh, heck yeah.
Hopefully, we'll have enough to get us through the segment.
11 ounces doesn't get my eyes open. It takes at least 2 15 ounces to do
That's,
that.
that's exactly right. All right. How do they find our merchandise shop?
They go to our website at nakednudistandnaturist.com and look for the little NNN's name on the menu bar and click on it and start shopping.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Let's get into the regular scheduled content here. We have on the show today part 1 with JELAINE Lombardi. She wrote that book, Running Around Naked. And she's the one, Lisa, we've talked about her before, you and I, off air. Her parents bought a nudist resort when she was 7, I think. And that's where she grew up, age 7 to age 18, and graduated from high school. All those years were spent living at a nudist resort. That was her home. You leave to go to school, you leave to go to the store. When you return home, home is a nudist resort. which to me would be an incredibly terrific way to grow up. And I got the impression she enjoyed the living daylights out of it too. But then she went away to college to another state and left the world of naturism. That was many years ago. I won't say how many. She and I agreed to protect each other in that area. But a number of years ago, and she'd never returned to naturism, even when she went back to the nudist resort. And, her parents were there and siblings and sitting around the table, nude Thanksgiving dinner. She was fully clothed and never went back to the lifestyle. Is nude on occasion now. She and her husband will go to somewhere, a beach or resort, but it's not part of her daily lifestyle. And that's just a different mentality we haven't run into before. Usually when people are in naturism, they stay forever because they just enjoy the clothes-free living for all the right reasons. You think there's something to it, though, that, okay, I'm immersed in this 25/8 from age 7. I want to try something else, something different than my parents did. Do you think there's some mentality there?
There possibly could be. There's a lot of psychological things and outside influences that come into play when people make those kind of major changes in their lives. But so it's hard to, speak to it, but it should just may be that she feels more mainstream by being clothed more than she did because of her childhood, because she was somewhat isolated, I'm sure, from, a lot of things happening. I don't know how many friends she could bring home for, an overnight stay or a party at the pool, considering the situation. So, there may be a lot of things. And I think it's this one good example of the fact that naturism is a lot of different things. You can be 24/7, you can be totally committed and immersed in it, or you can be a naturist just at home and not outside, or maybe only occasionally. You may still have that feeling when you're at the beach and you haven't been naked in 3 months, but that still doesn't mean that that's not a naturist feeling and that's not something that you enjoy. So I think there's a lot of diversity that we can see within this.
Yeah. As she mentions on the interview, and I don't know if it's today's segment or next week's segment, she and her husband have 2 homes. One, I believe, is in North Carolina, Tennessee, that area, and it's in the mountains in the middle of nowhere.
Mm.
And then one is in Florida, and they spend a month at each place, a month up there, a month down here, and back and forth. Well, in Tennessee or North Carolina, wherever the home is, they also have horses, several horses that keep in a barn. And that's the first order of business when you get up in the morning. When you have horses, you have to go to the barn and do any cleanup and feed them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, in my own mind, never having raised horses or been around them, well, that's the perfect time to be nude. Just hang around the barn with the horses feeding. And so I asked, I said, basically that question is that a great time to be nude for you when you're feeding your horses? She said something to the effect of, that's the last thing you want to do is be naked around horses. So, okay.
Well, I haven't been around many horses either, so I'm going to remember that comment.
Yeah. I guess so. If one somehow gets through the barn door and you have to go running through the meadows to catch them, it probably ought to have something on.
Probably.
Food for thought. But enjoy the interview with her, and looking forward to what you think of it and what our listeners think of JELAINE Lombardi.
I'm looking forward to hearing her.
Yeah, and had a very long career in nursing, neonatal nurse. You talk about high pressure, and oh boy, things have to happen right now, and did that as her entire career. And now that she's retired from that, she's taking some time to basically do what she wants, which includes writing. And she has more books out and more books coming out that are not naturism based. But this one was, so we thought we'd get her on. Running Around Naked. I had a chance to listen to the entire book as well as read the entire book, and looking forward to it. I think you'll enjoy it as well.
I'm looking forward to it too, because her career is something that I'm very familiar with, and a lot of pressure there, a lot of reasons for people needing to have that kind of relaxation you get with naturism. So it'll be interesting to see how she coped and maybe why she made this decision not to be.
Yeah, I found it fascinating. Now, on at that nudist resort, they did a lot of plays. They put on stage plays. And they would invite the community in as kind of a ticket to get through the door to see what a nudist resort is really like, and it's actually pleasant, nice place. Mm-hmm. And so part of it, I'm guessing, was for PR purposes. So she had a lot of time on stage, and then it led to her appearing in a movie based on the film adaptation of one of the plays they put on. So interesting guest. And I think you'll enjoy it quite a bit.
And I think everyone will enjoy it because, again, there are a tremendous number of different personalities and reasons out there for naturism from all walks of life, all just a diverse group of people and diverse reasons why they're here. So this will be good.
Yeah, very much so. All right, let's move on. We have a letter from Jason. He has written to us before. He's the one who calls us PJs, podcast jockeys, and they made some crack about it's funny PJs because that's the last thing naturists want to wear to bed.
Exactly.
But just a short letter he sent right before Thanksgiving. You want to go ahead and read that? That'd be great.
I'll be glad to. He said, Dear NNN PJs, hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving and thank you for all the great Wednesdays and Saturdays. You do more for a lot of people than you may realize. Thanks again, Jason.
Yeah. Well,
that's sweet.
Yeah, it's very nice. And we do get that feedback quite a bit because of what we put into the show. We're genuine. We're not here to make a big splash or say, hey, look at us. We're naked yet again. Can you believe it? You haven't seen us naked for 3 minutes, but here's another photo. No, we're just here to talk about clothes for a living for all the right reasons. We're not psychologists or social workers or therapists or anything like that, but we know that it works and it works for us. Any comment or thoughts on his note?
I think it's just wonderful. It's nice. It's really terrific for us to get feedback that there's some connection that we're making with people and things that they need. And I think sometimes it's just the outreach. It's just the knowledge that there's somebody else out there who feels like they do. And, we what we talk about on different issues are, certainly our opinions. We're not professionals. We can't give that level of advice, but we can say what we would do in certain situations. And I think that just having that level of camaraderie and exchange between naturists is a very good thing.
Yeah, very much so. Well, thank you for that, Jason. We had the last 2 Wednesday shows, our locker room shows written by Jacob, the professor at University of Washington in Seattle, about nudity in locker rooms disappearing. And we've had a tremendous amount of feedback on those shows, and we'll read some of the notes down the road a bit. But just in general, Lisa, I got 2 things on this end, and I know you got some as well. Basically, yep, that's the way it's going and it's awful, or people who had no clue about it. And those are the ones I'm worried about. If you've not been to a locker room in the last few years, you're not aware of that. Well, now you are. There are people out there, and we don't know who they are, but they're taking away nudist privileges / rights. The locker room is the one place that you are allowed to be naked forever. Now they're taking that away, not so slowly, but definitely, surely. Any feedback that you've gotten on your end?
And the same thing that I've heard. A lot of people totally appalled at the fact that, again, it comes back to everything in life. If someone doesn't like an apple, then no one gets apples at a meal. I know that sounds ridiculous, but there's there are reasons sometimes that things that are in the minority need to be protected and taken care of. But also there needs to be something way between those two that also protects the people who don't feel or like or consume the same thing. And so it's a really tough thing, but people were like us, they were angry. I thought I certainly am. I think it's just, another level of naturism being stripped away from us, to use a term. And it's also, kind of, I don't know, it just makes no sense to me. It makes no sense at all. And I'm fearful that it is the beginning of a movement that we're all going to have to suffer from.
Well, let's certainly hope not, and that's why we gave this article so much attention, is to make people aware of it. This is not just interesting news or hey, hadn't thought of that before. To me, it's pretty serious because they're actively taking away things that we've enjoyed forever.
I think there's a reason for activism on the part of naturists because we really need to make sure that the reasons that they're pulling this away are not because they don't understand naturism. They need to understand naturism. There is nothing sexual about being naked in a locker room, right. And or being a naturist. So I think it's a call to action for all of us.
Well, yeah, and there's nothing sexy or sexual about being naked in a locker room to us.
Mm,
I would imagine to some people there is, but we're not dealing with those people. We're dealing with naturist, nudists, clothes free living people. That
yes.
that is the most normal place. It's almost like, okay, what's next? We can't shower in the nude when we're at our house because somebody might break in and see us. As silly as that sounds, taking away nudity from a locker room sounded silly just a few years ago, didn't it?
It certainly did. I remember being in girls' locker rooms in junior high and high school, and the girls who were shyer, they didn't appear naked in front of anybody. They went somewhere private to change. They pulled the curtain back on the shower. There's some sense of responsibility on the part of the person who may be uncomfortable with being naked in front of others. So there has to be some level of balance here. And I think that's true about anything in this world. We need balance. We don't need restrictions from one side or the other. We need, a level playing ground, and we don't really have it in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So we thank Jacob Beckert for that article, allowing us to share it. It's in the Atlantic. And we spent the last 2 Wednesdays on that. And we have another similar article in terms of the title, Nudity Ending in Locker Rooms. Totally different in terms of content, but basically the same idea. And that's from Dustin Cox. And we'll get to that within a few weeks or so. We haven't scheduled it yet, but we will. And we'll take care of that because he has different things to say, always, a terrific writer and always expresses himself well. And he certainly did in the article that he put out there on his blog, One Naturist Life, about ending nudity in the locker room. So we'll get to that within a few weeks. Okay, Lisa Monroe, we have a note from Mark from France.
Yes.
And we won't read the note today. It was basically introducing the fact that he has a new blog post. And by the way, he has a new book coming out too. But we'll get to that another show. But he wrote a blog post. And if you don't mind reading the title of the post and then the first two paragraphs, go right ahead.
Why being naked feels so damn good. The hard science behind non sexual nude comfort. As a long-term naturist, I feel much better when I'm naked. Discussions with many naturists confirm I'm not alone. However, we often wonder at this feeling and may sometimes question it. Non-sexual nudity feels damn good for very real physiological and psychological reasons. That science backs, as I'm going to tell you.
All right. Now, we've already been through the psychological aspect. You just feel better. I believe, this is my belief, I don't think I've read this anywhere. That's how we were born. We have a desire to get back to the biggest moment of our lives, and that's being naked as a jaybird. And that's why it feels so good from a psychological standpoint, according to me. I don't have any research to back that up. But he gets into the science, and he starts off, number one, thermoregulation. Your body's built-in AC works perfectly when it's naked. Skin is your largest organ and your primary cooling system. Clothing traps heat and moisture, forcing your body to work harder. Ooh. Nude individuals reach thermal comfort faster and maintain it at lower energy costs than clothed ones in the same environment. Your 2 million sweat glands and vast network of skin blood vessels can dilate and evaporate sweat instantly when nothing blocks them. And I'm going to put in, like clothes.
Yes,
That's
yes.
what I'm talking about. That's why stepping out of a hot shower into the air or lying on a bed with no sheets feels like pure relief. And Lisa Monroe, if you will take item number 2.
Tactile freedom. Your entire somatosensory system lights up positively. Every square inch of skin has mechanical receptors that love gentle stimulation, light breezes, warm sun, cool grass, water droplets. Clothing constantly gives low-grade, monotonous pressure. Remove it and you get rich, varied, ever-changing touch input that the brain interprets as pleasurable. Research on effective touch, see tactile fibers, show this kind of slow, gentle stimulation triggers oxytocin release and activates reward centers the same way a loving caress does, except it's your whole body giving the massage 24/7.
Well, where do I sign up, right?
Absolutely. And that's true. I mean, we could go on and on about that feel of air or that feel of, the breeze on you or the hot sun. I mean, there is a lot of, I think, tactile freedom in naturism and one of the things that we enjoy the most.
Yeah, definitely. Now he has 6 points here. We've read two. Let's read one more, and then we'll save the final three for next week. You okay with that?
And I'm fine with that.
All right. So number 3 on Mark's list: reduced chronic microstress from waistbands, seams, bras, socks, collars. Tight or even normal, in quotation marks, clothing creates constant low levels compression and friction. Over years, this adds up. Military personnel and nurses who switched to loose or no uniforms during downtime showed measurable drops in cortisol and perceived stress. When one ditches clothing, the sense of relief is almost euphoric, like removing a pebble from your shoe you didn't realize was there. I don't know where he came up with this. I'm glad that he did, because now it's science is backing and nude is best. What do you think?
Absolutely. And I mean, let's get let's get away from belts and tight waistbands and even socks. I don't like to wear socks. I find them confining, but number one for me, ban the bras.
Yeah.
Hate those things.
Yeah, very much so. And at the end, and we'll read this ending next week too. Put all these together and you get a constant low level yes signal from your nervous system. No wonder long-term naturists feel slightly irritable the moment we have to put on clothes for the outside world. It's like turning off a pleasant, full-body hum. The science just confirms what we have felt for decades. The human body was designed to be naked most of the time. Clothes are the occasional tool, not the default. And that's Mark from France, nudeandhappy.com, link in the show notes. A blog post he did on how science backs up naturism. I'm going to read this 10 more times because I just think it's great. I want to be able to quote it verbatim. Somebody gets into a discussion with me, instead of me trying to prove points psychologically, I can say, hey, the science says, and everybody says trust the science these days, so I'll probably win every argument from now on. How about that?
You should, because science should be trusted. So, and Mark's proved it. And I love his last line. His motto, so to speak: get nude, stay nude, live nude, and share the nude love.
Yep, there is definitely a theme within that quote there.
There certainly is.
Okay. All right, Lisa Monroe, as long as you promise to stay clothes-free, we'll get to part 1 of my interview with JELAINE Lombardi, and then we'll see you after that for a few moments. Do you promise to stay clothes-free?
I'm definitely going to stay clothes-free and go get more coffee.
All right. See you in a little bit.
Bye.
The very terrific Lisa Monroe as she goes dancing out of here to her favorite song, I think. I think this has become her favorite song. And she does so much around here. The website, the merchandise, helps with Patreon, comes in for 2 segments a week, does those memes and so much more. And we thank Lisa Monroe very much for all that she does around here. As a reminder, we are the official podcast, the American Association for Nude Recreation. Are you a member? If so, that is great, and welcome into the club. But if not, you can become a member right now within moments. Just go to aanr.com, follow the navigation to membership, and within moments you will become a fully fledged member of the American Association for Nude Recreation. How about that? Well, you are listening to Naked Nudists and Naturists, episode 149 today. Really glad that you are with us, enjoying clothes-free living for all of the right reasons for this hour. And now let's get to part 1 of my interview with JELAINE Lombardi. She wrote the book Running Around Naked, all about her time spent growing up in a nudist resort from ages 7 to 18 before moving on. Part 1 with JELAINE Lombardi. We are headed down the coast of Florida this morning to the Fort Lauderdale area to interview a woman who has a story to tell unlike any story I've ever heard. Her parents actually bought a nudist resort when she was 7. She stayed there till she was about 18, remained a nudist for a while, and then at some point decided, I don't think so. I think the clothes are going to go on. They'll stay on, although she is nude from time to time, depending on where life takes her. But she's written a book about the whole situation entitled Running Around Naked. So let's bring her to the show this morning from Florida this morning. Although sometimes she's from Tennessee, but Florida this morning, JELAINE Lombardi. Good morning, JELAINE. How are you today?
Good morning, Frank. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Really appreciate the ability to be able to, promote my book a little bit, tell you about my life.
Yes, and it is quite a story about your life. As I shared with you before we started, I read the entire book and I listened to the entire book. So I've kind of been overdosing on JELAINE Lombardi and running around naked this week. Tell us the beginning of the story, your kind of average family, mom, dad, some kids, enjoying life. And one day your mom saw in the paper, hey, there's a nudist resort for sale. Why don't we go check it out? And life kind of changed after that. It's kind of sort of the beginning.
Yes, we were living in Miami at the time, and my mom had 4 kids. And I guess she needed a little excitement in her life, and when she saw an open house in the newspaper, she got my husband on board, took the other kids, the other 3 kids, to the movie theater, and brought me since I was only 15 months old. I keep a secret,
Yeah.
and we went to check out and see what it was all about, and that was it. I mean, they fell for it. They once they got in the pool, they loved it, and they met a gentleman there named Paul, and he belonged to Coral Lakes, which was in Dania, Florida at the time. They started going there. Before you know it, they were like social directors, and they really immersed in the philosophy of it all.
Now, why do you think that is? Because, as I understand it, you are not a nudist family living day to day, but suddenly they show up at this resort, the clothes came off your parents, and they instantly had an affinity for naturism. Why do you think that is? Any thoughts on that, or do they actually ever say?
No, I guess they were ready for it. My mom said she was bored in life, and and once we got to the camp, the kids, and as you know, you are a nudist, the kids would just take off, and you know, they didn't have to worry about us for the whole weekend. We'd all be off doing our own little things. They could play volleyball and enjoy themselves socially. So it was really great for all of us. It was a magical time.
Oh, yeah. And then somehow it evolved into they actually purchased a nudist resort, right?
Right,
Yeah.
because that park was getting closed down. So then they became a travel club where they would just travel all the different parks in Florida.
Okay.
And back in those days, we had what was called All Florida Days. And every month, a different park would have sponsor a weekend with volleyball tournaments. And so that's what we did for maybe for about a year or two. And then the park became the, actually Deacon, who owned that park, had moved out west, and then he decided to sell after about a year. And my parents bought it, and they
Okay.
bought it with the help of another member.
Okay. And they owned it for, I want to say, about 40 years. It was a long time,
Yeah,
right?
2007.
Yeah. So long after you departed the nudist resort and got your own life going, 32 years as a neonatal nurse. I can't imagine
Right.
doing that job and how stressful that is and how important it is at the same time. But long after you departed, they still owned the club and still ran it day to day, right?
Oh yeah. So when I came home to visit, I would go and stay there, stay in my old room, and holidays and still did everything there at the camp. Only I didn't undress at that time. I would keep my clothes on.
That's what I was going to ask you because at some point you became, as you defined yourself in your book, an outsider. I got a kick out of that term. I'd never heard that before, but it makes perfect sense. You're no longer a part of the naturist community by choice. So you went back to see your parents and say, hey, mom and dad, the turkey is great, but my clothes are staying on, basically, right?
Right. She was okay with it.
Yeah.
But I notice now that most nudist parks are clothing optional.
Yeah. It seems like almost every club, and maybe every club, you have to be nude if you're in the pool. Does that sound about right?
Right, right.
But otherwise, if you're walking around, you can wear what you want.
Right.
Okay.
So that's a little bit different than back when I was there.
Oh, I didn't realize that. So no matter where you were in the park, you had to be nude.
Well, I mean, the members would if it was cold,
Right.
there was you would wear clothes more casual, but it wasn't like you couldn't come for the day if you were not a member, pay ground fee and keep your clothes on.
Right, which makes sense because that eliminates
Right.
all the, not all, but maybe a large percentage of potential
Warriors.
nonsense, right? Yeah, exactly. And we know that they are out there, and we do our best to keep them out of there. And I'm sure your parents had a few issues along the way, but it's just part of what we deal with, right?
Right, but I think that's the way it is in society in general. You're going to have the bad apples. Doesn't mean everybody's bad. It's just good and bad
Yeah.
in society.
Yeah, I remember the first time I went to a nudist resort, and even though I grew up clothes free, I didn't go to my first nudist resort until I was in my 30s, as I've mentioned on the show before. And they semi grilled me on the phone. When you come here, we expect this, that, and the other thing. You can't do this, and you have to do this. I said, yeah, that's fine. That's why I'm coming. They didn't know who they were dealing with. Lifelong nudist. I just want to come and enjoy the park. I have no other needs or desires beyond that. I'm not there to pick up women or to check out the babes, playing. No, I just want to
Mhm.
be clothes free in a casual setting. So that worked out, but it's good that they do grill people like that, and that way you can, at least to some degree, weed out the less desirable when it comes to nudism, right?
Right. For the most part, everybody was wonderful. It was like an extended family that I lived with then.
Yeah. So you had people who actually physically lived there year round, but then it was also open to people who wanted to come for the day or come for a week or two
For
or
a
a
weekend.
weekend. Yeah. All right. So that's a pretty good mix of people, and that is what was the name of that Seminole Nudist Park?
Seminole
Was
Health Club. It
Seminole
was
Health
called
Club?
Seminole Health Club.
Okay. And as far as I know, that club is no longer around. Is that true? Do you know? Do you know?
Right. Now it is a Tailgate campgrounds.
Oh, okay. Okay. Is that who bought it from your mom and dad?
Yes.
Oh,
And
okay.
I've thought about doing like a little video driving it because a lot of it's still the same. You still have the pond and the little island there.
Hmm.
And, just kind of doing a walkthrough, sort of like going back in time. I might do that at some point. I hear they're renovating it right now, though.
Yeah, I think you should do that. I think that would be a great video. Just Jelaine Lombardi grew up no clothes on, 25'8", goes back to the same park that's now mandatory to have clothes on, and you're an outsider now to naturism.
Right.
I think that'd be a great video and might trigger a lot of memories for you too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And everything's changed out there. The the county dump is now Vista View Park. It's one of those
Yeah.
large hills, which was a Mount Trashmore kind of thing. But people, they go there for picnics and riding the bicycles up and down the hills and stuff.
Wow.
So it's changed. The cow pastures are now, subdivisions. So everything changes.
You even mentioned when you went to Cypress Cove, I think it was just within the last year or two to present your book. You were driving through it, and your remembrance of Cypress Cove, it was kind of sort of in the middle of nowhere. And suddenly you're driving through this big city, and the MapQuest or Google Maps said, "You've arrived." And you said, "Well, that can't be. We're in a big
Right.
city here." But that's how much things have changed, right?
Right in the middle of it, right?
Yeah.
With the plaza right outside the gate. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad the local officials have not given them any jazz about that. Maybe they have. Maybe we just don't know about it. But at one time they were in the middle of nowhere, bothering nobody. Now they're in the middle of all the hustle and bustle, but still bothering nobody, right?
Well, that's what kind of happened at Coral Lake, the first park that we were members of.
Yeah.
Buildings started growing up around the park, and they were
Yeah.
complaining.
Well, didn't somebody add a second floor to his house, and that's when he started
Yeah.
complaining? Yeah. It's like,
Well, the buildings started, yes, like condos started to come.
yeah. In your book, you
Apartment
talk.
buildings.
Yeah, you talk about a court case or two. Your parents had to go in and defend, like, hey, we're just trying to run a clothes-free resort here, and it's all above board and clean as a whistle. And nobody invited these people in to build a home and add a second story so we can see over the fence. Do you remember how
Right.
how that played out? What was the final result? Obviously, they were allowed to stay open, right?
Right. Right. So I guess they must have won that battle.
Yeah. I mean, it's just only fair. Whoever was there first, that kind of rules the order of the day. And
Mhm.
to change your whole business or close it down because some guy decided to add a second floor to his house, that wouldn't make any sense at all, would it?
Right.
Yeah.
And I believe my parents allowed them to do that. They had to get a permission to do that. Initially, they did support them, and then they complained about it later. So.
Yeah, of course. That's usually how it works. Well,
Mhm.
I when I grew up, as I mentioned, I was allowed to be clothes free, but we never went to a resort. The closest one was, I don't know, an hour and a half, 2 hours away, and I was heavily involved in baseball and basketball and music, and there was really no time for my parents to take 2 or 3 days to go to a nudist resort, so we just never went. I always thought about that because I'd hear about it on TV, I'd read about it in the paper. Wouldn't it be great not only to go to a nudist resort in my case, but can you imagine living at one? I mean, I would actually ask myself those questions. But you actually lived at one. So maybe just give us a general sense of how you think life was for you, maybe how it was different for you as compared to somebody who never had that experience. No clothes on all the time, at home, at school, never at a naturist resort. Any idea how much different your life was compared to theirs?
Well, my life was also once we moved to the camp when I was 7, it was sort of like living in a commune too,
Yeah.
because there was a group of us that all lived together and we ate together, get our meals together. And whenever there was any issue, we were all there for each other. So it was also sort of like communal living
Mm-hmm.
and nudist living. So it was a very free experience. As soon as I got home from school, it was just like great, rip off my clothes and
Yeah.
just it was very free feeling. And at that time, I mean, that was just normal for me anyway. So I didn't think of it
Yeah.
as being any different.
Yeah. Now you have siblings. Were they also fully immersed into the nudist lifestyle at one time?
Oh yes,
Yeah.
we all lived there. We all lived there together for a long time. I think I was first to leave, really, to leave the
Okay.
camp, and I moved away to Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you are you're a self-identified outsider. I just like that term. I hope you don't mind me using it. It's
No,
just
no,
funny
that's
to me
fine.
because it's just yeah, it is what it is, as they say. What about your siblings? Are they the same way? Are they still in the nudist life or what?
Well, unfortunately, I lost two siblings.
Yeah.
I lost my sister last year, and I lost my older brother a few years back. So it's just Chucky and I left, and no, we don't really participate. But as I said, if there was a nude beach and my husband, I would feel perfectly comfortable if the situation is right. I always said we should go and do a book promotion going to different nudist parks.
Yeah.
But there again, we're so busy. We're a month in Tennessee and a month in Florida every
Right.
other month.
Yeah.
So it leaves little time for touring. So, but as I said, if the situation was right, and even a nude cruise, I thought that would be go on a nude cruise too. Have you
Yeah.
done that?
I have not, but I know they're out there, and they have the big one every February or so. Leave somewhere out of Florida, either on the East Coast or
Mhm.
West Coast, depending on the
But I
year.
think they go from Cypress Cove. They have a little transport from Cypress Cove to where the cruise is.
Oh, I didn't realize that. Okay,
Yeah.
well, so you're thinking of trying that one of these days?
Yeah, maybe we will.
Yeah.
I'm open. I'm pretty open, and that's what nudism did for me. Also, is made me pretty open minded in life.
Well, that was actually what I was going to get into now because I've obviously talked to a lot of women about this, a lot of men too, but you're a woman, so we'll focus on the woman aspect. Females who grew up clothes on all the time also meant dealing with makeup and hair and getting the perfect shoes and so on and so forth and being stressed out and believing their only value is what they look like. Whereas women who grew up in the nudist environment, as you did, and as one of our people here did, none of that nonsense went on. You just clothes off, you're zipping in the pool, you're playing volleyball, let's have something to drink, and now it's dinner time. And you didn't have to deal with most of that junk. I know you probably did when you went to school, but do you see a difference there? Could you tell the difference between yourself and how you viewed yourself as opposed to maybe somebody at school?
Yeah, well, you know what? The biggest thing that bothers me is when I tell people that I was raised as a nudist, and they say, "Oh, there are some people that shouldn't have their clothes off," and that really annoys me because that's the whole philosophy of nudism. We're not, there. We're not there for your pleasure. We're there because we want to enjoy, the freedom ourselves. It's not for you. It's for individuals. So that's something that always comes up when I tell people about the nudists. And it is. When you're out there, you're not, posing, you're just living life.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, everybody's just themselves, and you really get to see the true person because
yeah,
you're not dressing.
yeah. Well, even when I was in the corporate world, of course, that meant suit and tie, confining dress shoes, the whole nonsense thing going on. I couldn't wait to get home to get all that off. And then
Oh yeah.
almost immediately I would feel that feeling of, okay, now I can live again. And I've never lost that feeling. And now that I'm out of the corporate world and I can do pretty much whatever I want because I own my own business, I can be nude all of the time. And so I am. And I just feel, even my doctor, we checked the blood pressure recently. Every year I go in for an annual checkup And it's been that way for a long time. He said, "What exactly are you doing in life to get this perfect blood pressure every single year?" And I did share some information with him. And he said, "Well," he goes, "it really works that well?" And I said, "Well, apparently so." I say, "You're the one telling me my blood pressure is perfect. And maybe it wasn't perfect before. It was always pretty good. I've never had any issues. But when you live clothes free, or when you go to a clothes free resort or a beach, all of the nonsense with the clothes seems to get stripped away at the same time, if that makes any sense. Have you experienced that, and do you agree with that?
Oh yes. I mean, when we went back to Cypress Cove and I did my little book talk when Tom and I were nude, it was like a taking off of all the
Mhm.
stress and worry when you just wrote.
Speaking of your book talk, and I do want to get to the book itself in just a moment, I promise we will. When you did the book talk, most, maybe all of your audience at Cypress Cove, they were totally nude, but you had clothes on while presenting, right?
Yes, I think at that point, yes, I think at that point I still did. Or maybe I just had a towel on me. I'm thinking because when that was at the end of the day, and I did go with I think I just had a towel wrapped around me at that point when I did that talk.
What I remember reading is that you had some pretty fancy clothes picked out for the trip.
Oh
And
yeah.
then somebody on the phone said, your whole audience is going to be nude. And you told your husband, well, we have to revisit our wardrobe apparently. So you pack sundresses and things like that.
Right. I know, I'm like, this is ridiculous. What am I doing? I'm going to a nudist park and I'm wearing the cocktail dress. No.
Three pairs of high heels, just so you're whatever mood you wake up on, that day, you're set to go. And then you realize, well, this is ridiculous. I'm getting all fancy dressed up here for naked people, which you
I'm
could have
pretty
been
cat.
too. You could
Yeah.
have been too, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm a pretty casual person anyway.
Yeah.
So I did change it out to little sundresses, and then before you know it, it was down to just a towel around me.
Yeah. Well, that's the way to go. Now, living in Tennessee, I know you have horses.
Yeah.
That sort of suggests you have some land up there, maybe a farm. Do you ever wander around nude on your farm while you're taking care of your horses, for example?
Oh no, it's probably best to keep clothes on around horses.
Okay. Okay.
I was not Lady Godiva. Yeah, although I did. We had parades that we would go into for the camp, to promote our cause. We were always promoting the cause, and I did go as Lady Godiva once, but I had like gauze all around me on the horse
Yeah.
and walking through the Tattagavy.
Okay. So even though you grew up in nudism, living at a nudist resort, and then you became an outsider, you still have no issue being nude depending on the situation, right?
Right. No.
Yeah.
If,
Yeah.
if it's a proper situation, it's
Yeah.
as long as it's okay with my husband, it's okay with me. And he seemed to take to it pretty easily.
Yeah. Well, shoot, he got nude first at Cypress Cove, so I guess that's pretty good leadership right there, right?
Yeah. Well, they have pickleball there now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
has taken over volleyball.
Oh,
So
yes.
he was playing pickleball, and just like there on the pickleball courts, people were either in shorts or nude or fully clothed.
But yeah, and that's the way to go. We are talking to JELAINE Lombardi today, and I heard you tell somebody it's Elaine with a J up front. Is that the best way to think of how to
Right.
spell it? Okay. And she's written this book, Running Around Naked, talking about the times where she grew up in a nudist resort. Her parents owned the place. And JELAINE, you decided to write this book. It's basically a memoir, autobiography, however you want to mention it. But it's basically a memoir about your time as a nudist growing up. What triggered all this after all of these years, even long after the club was sold? You decided, okay, you know what? I've retired from 32 years being a natal nurse. I'm going to write this book about my life as a nudist. What triggered all of that?
Well, I always wanted to tell my story. I had kept journals during my teenage years, and when I was read my journals, it would bring me right back to that moment. And I thought I wanted to share my story because I know it's a unique story. And my parents were not only just nudists or just owning the camp, we were really big promoters of the cause. So that led to some very interesting. We had plays and pageants and musicals,
Yeah.
anything we could do to promote the cause. Not only was I part of just the nudist movement, but we were part of bringing people in.
Yeah, I seem to recall your parents were on various boards and politically active in the nudism community, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Eastern, back then we called it the Eastern Sunbathing Association and the American Sunbathing Association.
Which is now the American Association for Nude Recreation.
Right.
Okay, so you decided to write this story, and you basically started right at the beginning. You know, we're sitting around the kitchen table, and Mom saw this ad, and took off from there. And you talked about a lot of experiences you had. You know, some terrific, some not so terrific. But at some point, you folks staged a play there called "Barely Proper." Do I have the name right?
Yes. That was the first play we did.
Is that the play that you were in right away, or was that down the
I
road?
introduced Bailey. I was only about 10 years old then.
Yeah, right.
So I introduced the play.
Yeah.
So I would get up and do this monologue and
Yeah.
that I had memorized. And that's where I would get my slow stage fright. But then I would also be in the plays. And that wasn't so bad. You know, when you're feeding off of each other with lines, it's a lot easier than just standing up in the light with a young child.
I can't imagine being 10 years old, getting up on stage and introducing a play like that. That took a lot of courage. And I'm guessing you didn't volunteer for it. Somebody said, "Hey, Jelaine, guess what? You're going to be doing this." Is that how that worked out? Or
Oh, I think I wanted to be part of it all too. You know, all the
Oh, very
excitement
good.
of like,
Okay.
yeah. So I did want to be part of it. And at the end, they needed me because the characters that would spell out barely proper each had a towel on that would have a B and an A. So I had to come out with the little PER because there wasn't enough letters. So I would write with a little sign that said PER at the end when we took the bows.
Yeah. Well, they took the bows initially with towels on or towels held up. And
Yeah.
then,
And then they dropped the towel.
yeah, the curtains closed and they reopened and everybody was nude.
Right. Have you seen the movie Barely Proper?
I have not. Yeah, I was going to get to that in a minute. No, I have not seen it. But is the movie kind of sort of exactly like the play, or do they take liberties, or what?
No, I actually like the play better than the movie.
Yeah, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
The play's a comedy and it's wonderful. The movie was my dad's idea and a director that showed up, a producer, and they decided to make a movie around the play. You know, a little more dramatic, a little more
Yeah,
drama involved in it, but it's funny too. So I was in that movie.
yeah, yeah. You had a part in the movie. In fact, if you go on the International Movie Database, you're listed there as an actress. What was your role, and how much film time did you get?
Actually centered around me because we moved into a neighborhood and my neighborhood friend, his parents didn't like that my father was a nudist and teaching, was his teacher for his son. So it was like this court battle. And during the court battle, the judge says, well, let's go out and see what it's all about. And they go out to see the play Barely Proper.
Okay. Now, just a little off the beaten path for a moment. You mentioned your dad was a teacher in the movie. Is that how that worked?
Well, the actor that played my dad in the movie.
That's what I meant. Yeah. But he, at some point, wanted to actually be a music teacher, right?
My real dad did.
Yeah.
Yes. This
Yeah.
was
That's right.
the actor that played my dad in the movie, but my real dad did. Yeah, he was a music teacher, played the
Was it a,
clarinet.
oh, okay. So band and orchestra. Did he do choir or
He was in
whatever?
the National Guard playing back in the early 1960s.
Wow. Very good. Well, good for him. Did he keep that going throughout his entire life? I know he's passed
No,
away now, but
no.
no, he gave it
Now,
up.
by the time I have no memory of that.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's funny, the first chapter I wrote had to be through my mother's memory, not mine, because I was only
Yeah.
15 months old when
Right.
we were at the camp. So she
Right.
gave me, the basic outline of what the day was like. And then I kind of filled it in my own ideas, what
Yeah.
it was like.
Nothing wrong with
And
that.
then the rest of the book is from my memory.
Okay. Well, that's very good. Any feedback and or pushback from people who were in the book, like, "Hey, I wish you wouldn't have included me. Why'd you tell that story?" Anything like that?
I was worried about that.
Yeah.
Because I wanted it to be a truly honest account, the good and the bad, and I didn't really want to be on either way, pro nudism or anti nudism. I just wanted to tell my story and let the reader decide. And so there was a couple characters I was worried about. But no, I've had nothing but support. And even from my family and my sister, it's funny because he actually would tell me more. I mean, no, I can't take any more stories. It's enough. The book is finished. She'd be like, remember when this? Or because my sister was the wild one. She was Miss Nude
Yes.
Florida in 1976
Yeah.
and Miss Nude World 1977.
Yeah.
And I was the nerdy little sister.
Yeah.
But she gave me her stories, and I really appreciate that she shared those with me, no matter how embarrassing they were, And that's why I told my story. There's about 3 chapters about my first menstruation, and my mom said, "I can't believe you told all that." And I'm like, I wanted to be honest of what it's like as a female in a nudist sport when you menstruate. It's all, it's out there.
Yeah, and that's a real
Something you
life
have to
issue.
deal with.
That's not something you just
Right.
made up for shock value. It really
No.
happens to every female, and if you're at a nudist park and it happens, it actually happens. It's not something you can hide and
Right.
shove
Mine was a
aside
little
for
more
a few minutes.
traumatic than others, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you actually ended up. I don't know if you stayed in the
In
hospital,
the
but your mom
hospital,
took you
yeah.
to the hospital. Yeah,
Mhm.
because the pain was so intensive. Is that what it was?
Well, no, because it never stopped.
Yeah.
I was starting to pass out. But anyway, the reader can read that.
Okay.
But I tried to keep it fairly light too, which it was, because
Yeah.
we all had a good sense of humor. I think growing up in the 60s and 70s, and that was something we had. We had a really good sense of humor.
Yeah, and there's no question we've lost that to a degree as a society. I mean, I'll make a joke that 20, 30 years ago, even though on the show I claim to be 27 and you're seeing me face to face, so just keep my secret, Jelaine, just go with 27.
Yeah. Okay.
But 20, 30 years ago, I'd make a joke and it would break up the room, like the funniest thing they ever heard. I'll tell the same joke now and I'll get looks like, what did you just say? Why would you say that? And it's really nothing offensive. I never go down that road to tick people off or offend people, but it's just people have changed so much. What used to be funny is now, why are you even bothering talking? So I don't know where we are with that, but when you were a kid and I was a kid, life just seemed to be more fun, for lack of a better term. You agree? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. The very terrific Jelaine Lombardi. She has written the book Running Around Naked. Grew up in a nudist resort as a kid from ages 7 to 18. Left for college, had to have clothes on there, and never returned to the naturism life, but is still nude on occasion and still enjoys being so at various places, including her home and resorts and beaches, etc. And on next week's show, which will be episode 151, part 2 with Jelaine Lombardi. And before we head for the hills until next Wednesday's show, let's bring back in our naturism correspondent, Lisa Monroe. Welcome back, Lisa.
It is good to be back, and I still have some coffee left. But I have to say, Jelaine is an interesting person, and that's kind of fascinating the way she lived and grew up. So I'm looking forward to the next part of this interview.
I didn't know much about nudist resorts when I was a kid, if I knew anything at all. It just wasn't information that was readily available to me. But looking back, had I known, to me, that would have been one of the greatest places in the world to live, because every day, especially where they were, southern Florida, farther south than we are here, every day, sunshine, nice weather, diving in the pool, before school, after school, running home during lunch. What a great way to grow up, right?
It's an incredible way to grow up because it's such freedom, such, just you are one with nature. And I think most children love being part of nature. And, it's something that we crave. We didn't go outside and play for just because mom threw us out. We went out because we wanted to. We wanted to be in that environment. So, yeah, it would have been a wonderful life to live. And I certainly didn't know about nudist resorts when I was little. So it's just really very interesting.
We'll get to part 2 of my interview with Jelaine Lombardi on next week's show. And Lisa Monroe, let's head for the hills, but only if you promise to stay clothes-free until Wednesday. Is that a deal?
It's an absolute deal, and we will see you guys on Wednesday.
All right, see you then. Well, you've been listening to Naked, Nudist, and Naturist, episode 149 today. We give you a brand new show every Saturday morning, 6 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time, and on most Wednesdays, 12 noon Eastern Time. Continue to join us. Check us out on our website, nakednudistandnaturist.com, Spotify, Google, Amazon/Audible, Apple Podcasts, And also on Twitter. You can write us anywhere, anytime, any place. And we thank you for being with us today. Plan to join us for every single one of our shows here and have your clothes off when you're listening. We have our clothes off when we're broadcasting, enjoying the naturist life.
We celebrate clothes-free living for all. Remember to enjoy being naked and join us again for Naked Nudists and Naturists.
We drop a brand new show every Saturday morning, so come back and join us. Have your clothes off when you do for Naked Nudists and Naturists. Have a great clothes-free day.